Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Andi Syifa Hanifaturrizkia and you can call me Syifa. In today's video, we will learn about alliteration in poetry atau aliterasi dalam puisi. After watching this video, you should be able to 1. Spot alliteration in poetry, especially in a fairy song by William Shakespeare. 2. Write a poem that uses alliteration. And 3. Find examples of alliteration in famous English poems. So, have you ever wondered why some organizations or brands name like PayPal, Dunkin' Donuts, TED Talk, TikTok, or Coca-Cola are easy to remember? Would they be as successful as now if they had the name PayFriend, Dunkin' Pastries, or TED Speeches? Well, probably they don't. What you saw here is the power of alliteration, atau dalam bahasa Indonesia disebut juga dengan aliterasi. Having alliteration in their brand name makes it easier to remember due to its catchiness, playful, and musical effect. So, these brands can stand out and create unforgettable names in wide market. However, alliteration is not just a powerful rhetorical tool, but it's also really important to English literature and poetry. Kenapa aliterasi begitu penting? To find out why it's so important, we need to travel back in time to see some of the examples of English poetry and understand more about alliteration. So, without further ado, let's jump into the explanation. Now, what is alliteration? Alliteration is a poetic device that involves repeating the same sound at the beginning of words in a sentence or phrase. It is also known as an initial rhyme or head rhyme. For example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So, in this example, you see a series of words beginning with the same letter P, showing a group of words with identical consonant sounds, which is the P sound, repeated in succession. Aliterasi merupakan majas yang mengandung pengulangan bunyi konsonan yang sama dalam baris-baris puisi, biasanya pada awal kata atau perkataan yang berurutan. Pengulangan seperti itu menimbulkan kesan keindahan bunyi. Dalam bahasa Indonesia, penggunaan aliterasi dapat dilihat dari contoh berikut. Sunyi, sepi, senyap sekali. Dalam kalimat ini, terdapat pengulangan bunyi konsonan S, sehingga menambah keindahan bunyi dan isinya yang kemudian dapat mempengaruhi pembaca. And then the second is, why is alliteration used in poetry? Alliteration is used in poetry for several reasons. There are many purposes for using this device, including, firstly, it sounds pleasing to the ear and can grab the attention of readers or listeners. The second one, it can create a musical effect and emphasize certain words or phrases, which helps to make the context more memorable. The third is, it can add rhythm, which helps to make the poem more engaging and interesting to read. Fourth, it can be used to create different moods or tones in writing, such as a harsh style or a more introspective or romantic mood. And then the fifth is, alliteration can be used for comedic effect or wordplay. Jadi, aliterasi digunakan dalam puisi karena mampu menambah keindahan bunyi, menarik perhatian pembaca atau pendengar, menambah efek musikal, dan penekanan pada kata-kata tertentu untuk membuat konteksnya lebih mudah diingat, memberi ritme, menciptakan suasana dan nada dalam puisi, dan dapat digunakan untuk permainan kata. And then the third is, how to identify alliteration in poetry? Bagaimana cara mengidentifikasi aliterasi dalam puisi? Here are the steps to identify alliteration in poetry. First, understand the concept of alliteration. Pahami konsep aliterasi. Recognize that alliteration involves the repetition of similar sounds at the beginning of words, not necessarily the repetition of letters. And then the second, consider sound, not just letters. Perhatikan suara atau bunyi yang dihasilkan, bukan hanya hurufnya. For example, G in giant and gas may look similar but sound different. And then the third, be mindful of pronunciation. Perhatikan cara pengucapannya. Be aware that some letters, like C, can produce different sounds. For example, C in cat and scent are different. Fourth, listen carefully. Simak dengan baik untuk mengidentifikasi bunyi konsonan. Read the lines out loud to ensure that the consonant sounds in questions actually make the same sound. And then the fifth, consider poetic matter. Perhatikan metrum atau meter puisi. Understand that in poetry, alliteration often aligns with the poem's matter. The repetition of a letter sound should typically fall at the start of a stressed syllable to create a harmonious pattern. And then the sixth is, look for repetition. Cari pengulangan bunyi. Identify instances where the same consonant sound is repeated at the beginning of a series or words or a sentence. And then the last is pay attention to rhythm. Perhatikan ritme puisi. The repetition of the same sounds at the beginning of a series of words can contribute to the overall rhythm of the text, even if there's no other rhyme or measure. And then the fourth is, what's the difference between alliteration, assonance, and consonance? Ketika kita berbicara tentang aliterasi, kita akan menemukan istilah-istilah lain yang berkaitan, seperti assonance atau asonansi dan consonance atau konsonansi. So, here's the difference between them. Alliteration involves the repetition of the same sounds, usually consonant sounds, at the beginning of words or syllables, like Sally sells seashells by the seashore. The S sounds is repeated at the beginning of several words. Meanwhile, assonance, this is similar, but is about repeating vowel sounds. Dalam asonansi, yang berulang adalah bunyi vokal. So, if you have a sentence like, the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain, the long A sound is repeated. And then, consonants. This is more general. It's about repeating consonant sounds, particularly at the end of words, within group of words, throughout a literary work, or anywhere in words. Jadi, pengulangan bunyi konsonan yang ada di konsonansi bisa terjadi di mana saja. For example, in Mike likes his bike, the K sound is repeated. Jadi, pada intinya, majas aliterasi adalah pengulangan bunyi konsonan di awal kata. Sedangkan asonansi adalah pengulangan bunyi vokal yang sama atau mirip. Dan konsonansi adalah pengulangan bunyi konsonan. Next, examples of alliteration in poetry. Contoh aliterasi dalam puisi. To look at how alliteration is used in poetry, we will analyze a poem titled A Fairy Song, which was written by William Shakespeare. Tapi sebelum menganalisis puisinya, mari kita baca puisinya bersama-sama. Let's recite the poem. A Fairy Song by William Shakespeare. Over hill, over dale, through bush, through briar, over park, over pale, through flood, through fire. I do wander everywhere, swifter than the moon's fear, and I serve the fairy queen, to do her orbs upon the green. The cowslips tall her pensioners be, in their gold coat spots you see, those be rubies, fairy favors, in those freckles live their saviors. I must go seek some dewdrops here, and hang a pearl in every cowslip's ear. Alright, after we read aloud the poem together, let's see where the alliteration occurs within this poem. first is in line 2 atau di baris kedua. Through bush, through briar. Aliterasi terjadi pada kata bush and briar. The repeated B sounds create a rhythmic and energetic quality and emphasize the challenges the fairy faces as it navigates through dense plants. It also adds a sense of perseverance and determination. Next is in line 3 atau di baris ketiga. Over park, over pale. Alliteration occurs in park and pale. The alliteration here maintains the rhythmic pattern and contributes to the whimsical atmosphere of the fairy's journey. The repeated P sounds create a soft and pleasing effect. Selanjutnya, in line 4 atau baris keempat. Through flood, through fire. Alliteration terjadi pada flood and fire. The repetition of F sounds adds intensity and drama to the description. The use of alliteration in this line emphasizes the fairy's journey is not just across physical landscapes, but also through obstacles that are powerful and dangerous. Kemudian, in line 6 atau baris ke-6, swifter than the moon's sphere. Alliteration occurs in swifter and sphere. The alliteration contributes to the smooth and rapid movement described in the line. The repeated S sounds create a sense of grace and speed to emphasize the fairy's agility. Selanjutnya, in line 10 atau baris ke-10. In their gold coat spots you see, alliteration happens in spots and see. This line contributes to the overall enchanting mood of the poem by emphasizing the magical qualities of the fairy world. The description of the cowslips with their gold coat spots adds a mystical realm where even the flowers are adorned in a way that goes beyond ordinary. Next, in line 11 atau baris ke-11. Those be rubies, fairy favors. Here, alliteration occurs in fairy and favors. The alliteration enhances the mystical qualities of the rubies, suggesting that they are gifts or blessings from the fairies. The repeated F sounds create a beauty and magical qualities of it, which are described as fairy favors. This contributes to the poem's theme of enchantment and wonder. Finally, in line 13, atau baris ke-13, I must go seek some dewdrops here. Alliteration occurs in seek and some. The alliteration here emphasizes the fairy's purposeful action and creates a sense of mission. The repeated S sounds contribute to the urgency and determination in the fairy's quest. Now, after we learn about alliteration and how it is used in poetry, let's try to make a short poem that contains alliteration. But first, I will tell you how to make it, how to write it. To write a poem that uses alliteration, the only thing that you have to do is to repeat words that start with the same consonant sound. For example, you may add words like cat and cot, or wish and want. Anytime this occurs, you have an example of alliteration. So, here's an example of my poem. Look at the shimmering stars tonight, a sign of hope and guide to accompany your silent night. The alliteration here occurs in shimmering and stars, with the repeated S sounds. For the practice, you have to make a poem in one couplet, or a poem that consists of 2 lines, or one tercet, a poem that consists of 3 lines. You can write a poem about anything, maybe your favorite animal, a hobby you enjoy, or using some alliterative phrases that I have provided below. And after that, post your poem on the comment section below this video. Then pause this video and I will give you 2 minutes to make your poem. Start from now. Alright, you did a great job in making a very beautiful poem. Now, for your assessment, try to answer these 10 questions to evaluate your understanding about alliteration in poetry. What you have to do is underline or highlight the words that contain alliteration within 10 seconds. Are you ready? Let's start! Well done! You have done the quiz and understand about alliteration very well. Before we end this video, let's review what we have learned today. Alliteration is a poetic device that involves repeating the same consonant sounds at the beginning of words in a sentence or phrase. It is used in poetry for several reasons. For example, to create a musical effect, different tones and moods, and grab readers' attention. One way to identify it in poetry is by focusing on the sounds of the letters and looking for repetition. Alliteration differs from assonance and consonance, where assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds and consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds that happens anywhere. And more general. Finally, A Fairy Song by William Shakespeare is a good example of how alliteration is used in poetry. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you found this video informative and helpful. Remember to practice what you have learned and apply it in your writing. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. See you in the next video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.